Okay, so this is the in Mamorim Ulukotim Cheli Gimel. This is the 58th Maimer. B'siyayta Deshmaya, the Rebbe said this in Shabbos Parshas Vayikra, which is Parshas HaChodesh. It was Rosh Chodesh ניסן in the year Tovshin Lamed Aleph. And while this is not a Mugadika Maimer, they say in the note over here that on the write-up of the Hanocha from the Maimer, the Rebbe fixed several things with his holy handwriting. The Rebbe fixed, and as it says later on, it says in note 63 that from that point on, the Rebbe actually added that piece. So that's why they brought it down together with the Maimorim Mulukotim in here with the Mugadik Maimorim. All right. Psiyaita Deshmaya, Shabbos Parshas Vayikra, Parshas HaChodesh, Rosh Chodesh ניסן, Heitov Lamed Aleph. So that's why it says here Hanocha, because this is still a Hanocha that was not Muga, but like they said, the Rebbe looked up. So the pasuk says HaChodesh Hazeh Lochem Rosh Chodoshim Rishon Hu Lochem L'Chodshei Hashana. That this month, which is the time the Eibishter was saying this was Rosh Chodesh, was ניסן, Rosh Chodesh ניסן. So he says this is the head of the month, and this is Rishon Hu Lochem L'Chodshei Hashana. This will be the first for the month of the year. So the year has 12 months. Normal year has 12 months. This is the head of the Chodshei Hashana of the month. Basically, that means that the month of Nisan is the head of all the month. And the question is, what does it mean, a month of the year? There is really, the Rebbe brings down from the Even Ezra, the year doesn't divide by month. The cycle of the year is the seasons, the 365 days, but it doesn't split up by month. The cycle of the sun is not month. That's a shana. That's a repetition that goes through once a cycle, once a year, but it's not broken up into months. And on the other hand, the month, which goes by the moon, does not have anything to do with the year because uh, nothing happens. Every cycle is 1 month, but 12 cycles, that's a separate cycle. The Rebbe is going to ask, what does it mean that this is the head of the month of the year? A year with months doesn't seem to go together. A year is determined by the cycle of the sun. The month is determined by the cycle of the moon. And this is Rishon Lochem L'Chodshei Hashana. So why does the poem connect it? So he brings it down. V'hinei Yadua Maimer HaEven Ezra. It's known the saying of the Even Ezra. Ein leLevona Shona Klal. The Levona has no year. There's no such a thing. The Levona, there's a year doesn't mean anything to the moon. Kasharein Lashemesh Chodesh Klal. Just like the sun has nothing to do with a month. There's no month of the sun for the sun. Behind. That means like this. Shechalukas hazman dishono shayeches lechamo. The way that the time is for a year, that has a connection to the sun. Shebemeshech shono hachamo hoileches v'seiveves ad shechoizeres lemekoyim harishon. That a summer year, the sun goes and circles until it comes back to its first place. When it comes back to the first place where it started, then it circles, goes back, and it circles again. That's why it's called Shana. It repeats itself. the cycle repeats itself. Velochein nikra shana. That's why it's called shana. The year is called shana. Miloshin mishnah. Loshin repeat. Sha'oisa hadover choizer v'nishna oidapam. That same matter goes and repeats itself again. Avol mechodesh lechodesh. But 1 month to the other month, the moon, the 30 days, 29 and a half days, nothing changed in the cycle. The sun goes, nothing happens in the cycle of the month from 1 month to the other one. So that's as far as a year goes. So the year has really nothing to do with the month. And on the other hand, v'chalukas hazman d'chodesh, and the way the time is divided by the month, shayeches levana, that has a connection to the levana. Shehilucha, the way this moon cycles, ad shuva el hanekuda rishona, till it comes back to the first point. It takes a month. It goes back to its first point where it comes. But from year to year, nothing changed in the cycle of the moon. Nothing happens to the moon. Nothing changes when it comes a year. So the year is the cycle of the sun. The month is the cycle of the moon. So therefore, why is he saying the month of the year? So based on this, we need to understand we're saying this is the month for the Chodesh HaShona. Over here, he's saying the month of the year. So we're talking about a year as if it relates to the Chodoshim, to the month, which is really totally separate. Basically, they're not months of a year. Month is cycle moon, and year is cycle sun, two separate things. That's one question. Gam tzarich lahavin. Also, we need to understand, B'chlal, we know Rosh Hashanah is the first month of the year. Now here we're saying, HaChodesh al-Zelochem, the month of ניסן is the head of the year. Gam tzarich lahavin. Also, we need to understand, Mashenemar al Rosh Chodesh ניסן, HaChodesh HaZelochem, Rosh Chodoshim, Rishon Hu Gomer. He says the month of ניסן, that's the head of the month. It's the first one. But we know that the first day of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah. When we say Rosh Hashanah, not Tchilas Hashanah, so it's not the start of the year, but it's the head of the year. The specific language, the head of the year, not the beginning. So he gives you the diuk over there, shekeshem shaharosh koilel hachayis dechol evore haguf, just as the head includes in it the life force of all limbs of the body, kach Rosh Hashanah, likewise, the head of the year, koilel hachayis dechol hashana, that includes the energy of the entire year. So it's Rosh Hashanah, which is the start, the beginning, the head of the year. Now, what does it mean? It's all included in Rosh Hashanah, but we know that the Eibishter is always creating time, always energizing. It's not that he gave it Rosh Hashanah for the whole year, but he has to continuously. The Av sheyeshnei chidush hachayis b'chol yom. Even though there is a renewal of vitality, of life force every day. Kimaimer, like we say, Hamachadish betuvei b'chol yom tamid maseh bereshis. The one who in his kindness renews every day the act of creation. So, which means that every day the Eibishter renews it, not just Rosh Hashanah. And we know it's not only every day, it's not once a day. Not only every day. Elo gam b'chol rega. But every instant, the Eibishter has to always vitalize the world. So what do we mean when we say that Rosh Hashanah includes the chayis of the whole year? But the chayis comes vitalized every day. So the Rebbe says, Mikol Makom, Yesh Seder Mesudar B'amshochas V'chidush HaChayis. There is an organized order how it draws down and how this energy is renewed. Shebetchilo hi hamshochas hachayis haklolis beresh Hashanah. First, you bring down the general chayis on Rosh Hashanah. V'nechlekes achar kach, and then it's divided from Rosh Hashanah liyud beis Rosh Chodoshim to 12. They're also heads, but they're the heads of the month. Umeirosh Chodesh, from the head of the month, nimshach l'chol yimei HaChodesh. It comes to all the days of the Chodesh. So basically, while the Eibishter also renews it every day, but in the orderly way, at first it comes down in the Hamshacha Klolis, from Rosh Hashanah to the 12 Rosh Chodoshim, and then from the 12 Rosh Chodoshim into the days of the month. And this is explained at length and more detail ba'ateres Rosh, in the Ateres Rosh, sheyeshnom beis inyonim berosh, that there is two aspects in the head when we say Rosh Hashanah. Ha'aleph, sha'achai is the chol evorei haguf, kolu tchilo beharosh, that the energy that later on goes to all the limbs of the body, to begin with, it starts off in the head. First, it's included in the head. Umimenu nimshach l'chol ha'evorim, so it goes through the head to all the limbs. The habeis, and the number two, shegam la'achrei shekvar nimshach ha'chayis l'chol ha'evorim protiyim, that even after the energy already came down to all the specific limbs, so nimshach, and then it continues to direct them in a rosh umanhigo. So the rosh controls them. Okay, mavur betanya, as it says in the Tanya, the gam achshov, he says after, he says the sun comes mimoyach ha'av. So he says that also now, la'acharam shochas achayis mehorosh l'chol ha'evorim, after the energy is drawn down from the head to all the limbs, is yinikas hatzipornayim nimsheches me'ameich sheberosh. The nourishment, the yinika of the nails comes from the moyach of the head, which means first it came down through the head, and even after it's come down through the head, it continues to get its nurturing from the moyach sheberosh. Ubeis inyonim elu, says in Ateres Rosh, these two inyonim, yeshnam gam b'Rosh Hashanah. So they're also in Rosh Hashanah. That the Rosh Hashanah, first it's included in it, and then that Rosh Hashanah sort of leads the chayis of the rest of the year. But the bottom line is, this is all about Rosh Hashanah. But here we're saying that the Rosh Chodashim is Nisan. Based on this, we need to understand Ma'u Eimrei Sheresh Chodesh Nisan or Rosh Chodashim. And Rishon, we're saying Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the head of the months, and we say also Rishon. Rishon Gamaloshan Rosh. Rishon means the first, but also Rosh, the first. Hu L'chot Hashanah. We're saying that this is the head of the month of the Chod Hashanah. It's the Rosh. Hainu Sheresh Chodesh Nisan. Hu bedugmas ha'inyonim shebemoshel Rosh Kipshotei. So we're also saying here that Rosh Chodesh Nisan is similar as the way it's in the head, literally, just like the head we said before gets the chayis, controls the chayis. We have to say the same thing is that Rosh Chodesh Nisan controls the chayis, the rishon from all the months of the year. So how could it be both? What controls the chayis of the year? But we know that the Rosh Hashanah is on the first day of Tishrei. How could the first day of Nisan, how could it be the Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the head? Which is the head? Is the head Tishrei or is the head Nisan? Can't have them both included in this being the head. What controls the chayis of the rest of the year? Rosh Chodesh Aleph Tishrei or Nisan, or Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And the Rebbe explains that there's two things. There's the head that controls the natural way of things. And then there is the head, the way it controls the miraculous way. There's two types of conduct. So there is conduct in the in the natural way, and in the and there's the conduct in the supernatural way. And those are the two different heads: Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, the natural, and Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan, in the miraculous. Inyan hu api masha kosuv ba'akedah, based on what it's written in Akedah. Shebehanhogas ha'olam al yidei HaKadosh Baruch Hu yesh beis efanim. The way the world is run by Hashem, there are two ways. Hanhoga tivis, there is the natural conduct. Ve'hanhoga shelamaylo mehateva, and a conduct which is higher than nature. Shehi hanhoga nisis, which is a miraculous conduct. So, because we have these two conducts, and that divides between Rosh Hashanah, Aleph Tishrei, and Nisan. The Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the difference between Rosh Hashanah, which is on the first day of Tishrei, and Rosh Chodesh Nisan. The Aleph B'Tishrei hu Rosh Hashanah l'anhoga ativis. The first day of Tishrei, the Rosh Hashanah for the natural conduct. Ubeloshen HaKosuv, the Pasuk, use the language of the Pasuk, it says, Chukos Shamayim v'Oretz Gomer. The Eibishter calls it, the Pasuk calls it, the laws of the heavens and the earth, which go season by season, the month, everything goes naturally. That's Rosh Hashanah Aleph B'Tishrei. About this it says, Zera v'Kosir, when you sow, when you cut, V'kar, when it's cold, V'cham, when it's hot, V'kai, it's the summer, V'chayriv, the winter. Lo yishbais, they don't stop. This is the natural way, the different seasons that we have in the year. This is the conduct of nature. Shebezeh nichlolim kol hashinuyim shebemeshech chodshei hashanah. And this conduct includes all the changes that are during the year. Okay, the Isa Gemara, like we find in the Gemara, that Chatzi Tishrei Mar Cheshvan v'Chatzi Kislev, half of Tishrei and Mar Cheshvan v'Chatzi Kislev is basically 2 months. But we start with half Tishrei, from Tezvav Tishrei, and the whole month of Mar Cheshvan and the half of Kislev. That's the time of Zera. That's when you sow. And then you have the time that you cut. Is basically 2 months for each season, for the 6 seasons. Hainu, shekol echad mishesh tkufis elu, that each one of these 6 periods, kileles beis chodoshim echad she'ashono, includes 2 months from the months of the year. So this is Rosh Hashanah Aleph Tishrei. But Rosh Chodesh ניסן hu Rosh Hashanah l'hanhag hanisis. The first day of ניסן is the Rosh Hashanah for the miraculous conduct. What's the connection? Because in ניסן, the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim. That was the miracle. Shezehu inyan hageula the Yitzias Mitzrayim shebechodesh ניסן. This is the redemption of the exodus of Egypt that took place the month of ניסן. Shehoiso ba'ofen nisi. That was in a miraculous way. So the miracle took place on the 15th of ניסן, but already it started by Rosh Chodesh ניסן. V'ascholas ha'geula hoiso b'Rosh Chodesh ניסן. The beginning of the Geula was on Rosh Chodesh ניסן. K'shenemra Parshas HaChodesh Hazel Lochem. Over there, when the Torah tells them this is the month Shabon Nemar Gam Hatzibu, the Korban Pesach. Over there, it also tells you the command of the Korban Pesach, which is already for Pesach Tezvav Yudala Tezvav. K'di Isa b'Mechilta Huva b'Rashi, as brother Mechilta, brother Rashi, ala posik vayelchu vayasu. So after the Eibishter tells them on Rosh Chodesh ניסן, the posik says they went and they did. But how could they do it yet? It was Rosh Chodesh ניסן when he tells them. It says they went and they did. How could they do? It wasn't the time yet. It wasn't yet Yudal. It wasn't Tezvav. So Rashi says, Rashi had Vichi Kvar Osu. How could it say that they made it? The Eibishter tells them on Rosh Chodesh, and it says that they made. Did they then make it? Elo mishekiblu alehem lasis. But once they accepted upon themselves that they're going to do it, mala aleim kilo osu. That considers them as if they actually made it. As if they done it. That's why the pasuk says they went and they made it. So you see that already in Rosh Chodesh ניסן it started as if they did it already. This is also hinted in the saying of our sages of blessed memory. They say, Yochel mei Rosh Chodesh chulu. So the question is, we say in the Haggadah, you might think that you should start doing it from Rosh Chodesh. Why Rosh Chodesh? That tells you that Rosh Chodesh is taka the beginning of the Yitzias Mitzrayim. And so you see that there's a connection, but especially the Rebbe says, Ubefrat al pi pirush, especially according to the interpretation, Yochel me Rosh Chodesh. Yochel not, you may think that you can do from Rosh Chodesh, but there is the explanation, Yochel me Rosh Chodesh. You could start from Rosh Chodesh. Loirak b'Torah kal sal kadaitach. It's not just a thought, Yochel, you might think, but it is actually Yochel me Rosh Chodesh. Elo b'nechusa. She'efsher liyis kvar b'Rosh Chodesh. You can start already by Rosh Chodesh. So, we already see that the miraculous conduct started with Rosh Chodesh. Now, that doesn't mean that the Nisim were actually fully in Rosh Chodesh. Elo she'enoi doimeh l'kemoshe hu b'yom hahu. The pasuk continues. The Maimer Chazal says, Yochel me Rosh Chodesh. You can start from Rosh Chodesh according to the second pshat, but Talmud Leimer b'yom hahu. It's not the same. It's on a much higher, a greater level b'yom hahu. Ubefrat shebisho sheyesh matzah umorer menachem ufanecha. Especially at the time that you have the matzah and the morer placed before you, which is at that time. So that is both on that day, which is the 15th, and not only the day, but you also put matzah and butter, you're making the seder. Move on. So from all this we understand, it all started already, the redemption from Chodesh Nisan. That becomes the Rosh Hashanah. So basically, the Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is the Rosh Hashanah for the miraculous conduct. That's associated with Yitzias Mitzrayim. While the real Yitzias Mitzrayim, the real Nes happens on Bayom Ahu and together Matzah Morer, but still, to a certain extent, it starts already from Rosh Chodesh. But the Rosh Hashanah for the year, for the Anhagad, Tivis, that's from Rosh Hashanah. And the Rebbe is going to go now in the next days to explain that the world that was created by nature, that is Rosh Hashanah, the nature, that's the Aleph Tishrei. But then when the Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim and he chose the Jewish people, over there Hashem chose for them a month ahead, which is the Hanhoga Nisis. And that's where we have Rosh Hashanah for the Hanhoga Nisis, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodesh. Okay, we'll leave it over here and we'll continue.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.